Morning guys, John here, Mr. Forex Fire. Hope you have all had a good weekend. We're just going to quickly share the screen and then we'll go over a few things. Let's take a look. So let's have a look and then we can get rid of one or two. So there's an order block there. Again, we always go about 50%. Just to give you guys everything else, it is currently the 18th of October and we are on 8:30. 8:30 till 10:30, generally just before if we get a couple of trades in. So we're just going to tidy up these charts a little and then we can take a look. As you can see, we broke out, came in, we'll come back in to mitigate quite a bit. So what I'm going to do at the moment, do what I usually do because that's holding some preference at the moment. I'm just going to stick that on there. That's under 1 minute. We're going to do our swing points, obviously, with regards to the path, and we'll do it from here. And again, this is creating a higher time frame outlook. So you just have to go from a definitive area of swing points, okay? And then it creates intermediary action, as you can see, as we are loading this up. I'll do that. So I believe we might end up coming down to here, to be honest. And as we look further into that and open it up, you'll see, as I see it, you've got a higher time frame pathway because as you open this up, as we go on about this, let's take a look, 15 minutes. You can see from here, works pretty well, to be fair. So with that in mind, what you've got on the 15 minutes, okay, we've got, let's take up the half hour, in fact. Just going to draw out a couple of things at the moment. Seeing that, like the range on this has been mitigated 50% by that spike there. This one here, see the spike here, the high, this mitigated into this off last week. So maybe if on the Thursday that would have been, this was the Friday. So go down to 15 minutes just to draw it down a bit more. Go from there to there. I'll open that up. That'll be an area. As to the two above it, we can already see below, we've mitigated into this. About 5 minutes on this one. So we've got from there down to there. And I had this already zoned out with the orange lines, and look at that, it's more or less perfect in the middle of it, to be fair. So we may head down to this sort of area. Let's set our goalposts at the moment. Get this dragged out. So as always, our goalposts are 8:30. We put our time in. That's our start. And then we've got 10:30 finish. Right, so we're all about take a look on these things at the moment. There's nothing much showing its hand in fairness other than the Euro USD. The Euro looks to be on a strong push up. And certainly put a position in at the moment. I'll put one here. The low. And again, we're waiting for the return. So on here, we've currently got, where's the timer? It's just changed. We've still got a strong candle. There's another minute left still. So we need a bit of a retrace before we start looking at a red candle, as I say, before we start making our prediction for the pullback to then start going back up to the liquidity area. So what we've got, let's just mark out our areas as we always do. We've got a low. We've created a higher high, because in essence what we've done is we broke structure along here, you see. So we get that. We've broken that structure. 3 seconds, 2 seconds, and have we got a red candle? It's a bit of a red candle, a bit of a dodgy candle. As you can possibly see, a bit of an indecisive candle. But we've got a risk to reward of 2.29. And what we'll do is we'll include this structure point here. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to create this here. Okay, we've got lower. Got a little high. And we just want to mark these out. Not all the way down, we're just the ones where you can clearly see where we've created these areas. And once you've got one or two out, you can go to clone them. See if you're having to type it out. Go to here. Go to here. And then we've sort of channeled out a little bit along there. Okay. And then we've come down. And again, this is all about getting yourself comfortable and identifying these areas. So we've got a low high. Again, going into the lower. And then this is where we started getting the reversal. And just to be visual again, guys, just get yourselves in there. Sort of mark this up. It's been a brain structure there. Just so you know where you are in the 1 minute, you know you've come down in the channel, okay? If you wanted to, you can always identify these parallel channel areas, you know. by doing stuff like that. But again, your charts may become a little bit messy then. So just one of many things you can do. What we're doing from here, we need to get ourselves into this. Let's have a look at that. Right, so that's our trade at the moment. 1 to 2.75. We'll see how this goes. We've got our breaker structure, as you can see from this point here. So that there. Get your BOS. Again, another breaker structure. And then just to confirm, this one here will be liquidity. CFRs, liquidity. So each time we come up and we pull out of that, as we pull out of that, the liquidity is being taken from that. So even if it does a little bit of a retracement, but then it comes up and takes out of that, we then are simply just moving our area up to the next order block. Okay, so at the moment, the order block that I'm looking at the moment is generally that area there. Okay, so we want to go a little bit higher, go a little bit further up. So you're covering the wick because there's a good consolidation area here. Okay, so we've got the wick, and then that's your order block. Just to be visual, that's our order block. Now, my order block, I always do just above the area and just below. So that's where the contracts need to be filled. I'll have my entry and my stop loss either side of the order block, just so I know if it's going to come in, it will sort of mitigate into those areas. Another one of the tips that I do. So that's the layout of this morning and what we're looking at. Again, from there, we are looking at a couple of areas to the higher side. Again, we don't expect this to push all the way up there during the 2-hour session, but we could anticipate a move down to this side here. So we've got to be careful on the continuation of this, to be honest, okay? Because at the moment, as we come into this, there was a bit of erratic. It was erratic, to say the least. We come out, we got the nice trend on here, the big end of last week. We come down, consolidated, pushed up again, and we come back down, but it was a slow downtrend, big push down before the end of the week. Could this be another push back up? Importance areas, again, on the higher side, could be something along the lines of that. Let's take a look. Okay, so that could be of importance. Let's drill back in before we sort of pause ourselves for a bit. It's heading up into there now, to be honest. So right now, that is now a breaker structure. So I'm going to hold this position at the moment. This up here. I'm going to hold this position at the moment because I want to see a few more candles sort of come up on here, if that makes sense. A few more green candles, if that makes sense. So price might actually come down, and we're sort of mitigated into that anyway. So let's have a look at the price action at the moment, to be honest. So what we have with regards to imbalance is something else we sort of look at. Buys are in control. Buys are in control. There's no wicks underneath here. As you can see, they're solid. So your imbalances from there to there. So there's quite a bit of imbalance, to be honest. And we are on the 1 minute. That's quite a bit of price inefficiency, in all honesty. So we might just get a reaction off the 50% of that area, to be fair. And we'll see what happens with that. Like I say, we've got our player book on here. We don't need to look at this at the moment. We'll concentrate on the current swing. We've definitely got a new high created. Let's get that and clone that. We've definitely got a high there. We've now got a 1 to 3.84. We'll pause the video from there, guys. We'll see what happens. We'll come back. We'll see if we're going to get a player out of this area here again. That's a liquidity area at the moment. I don't want to rush into anything just as yet. So that's our liquidity area. We'll see if we'll get a push above that. We get a push above that, then I'm going to use an order block down on this side. So I'll pause the video for now. We'll be back in a moment. Guys, so just give you an update as well on the Excel sheets. We've got we're doing this in a 4 weekly process. Okay, the first 4 weeks we were 39.07 in profits. We went into week 1 part 2, which is going to be week 1. So it's basically week 5. In fairness, we're going to be running this up to Christmas. At the moment, on last week we were at the hospital on the 12th. The 13th, we were doing the asymmetrical compounding. We got a 3% at 2%, which gave us 5% for that day. However, we turned the dial on the last trade. We risked the 3% to possibly double our account. Unfortunately, that went against us, so we lost the 3% on that. We still ended in a 2% profit for the day, which was fantastic. And then we were on a 1.78 on the 14th. The 15th, which was the Friday, we had 2 losing trades, 1% each, which gave us a -2. I then brought it back on the very last trade with a 2%. So we had a break-even percentage on that day. So overall, we've got around about a 42.85%. Okay. From there, the running total for the first week of week 1 part 2, which was week 5, if that makes sense, that first week is 3.78% for that working week. So we are on at the moment. We've just got to get rid of that. Just need to copy that. Let's get rid of that. Make it white. And from there, see, I like to do everything in front of everybody's eyes. Copy, paste. So this will be week 2. I'll tell you what I'll do. Week 5. I'll make it easier. Week 6. And I need to copy that out. And I've got the 18th. Right. And we'll just run this down as we go along. I'm just going to minimize that, see where we are on our trade at the moment. Should be on auto save. Let's knock this out. So again, now we've had a break of structure. Now this is where we start getting out in the rested areas. So as we've come down, we've now got new areas. So this here is a higher lower. Okay. Clone that. Now there's that there. So from there, guys, again, 50% of that imbalance has more or less been met with this coming down. So what I want to do, I'm just going to get rid of some of the noise. And we're going to move this up to here. This up to here. Get rid of that order block. Need to push this up. This here is now a break of structure. As you can see, okay, we're getting a big push. We're getting a big push on the euro now. So what we're waiting for is obviously the timer to stop. But we need a retracement on a red candle. So that's where we are at the moment. Again, just to be visual. Order block. And this is what I do on a day-to-day basis. And again, as always, I always have my entry just above the order block, stop loss just below it, because then we know it's a refined entry. It's, if it comes to not quite mitigate the order block, it's just going to touch above it. That's fine. That means we're getting in a little bit earlier. From there, if it surpasses that order block, it's got a bit of a cushion just outside by a pipette. And we're just sort of protecting the swing points, to be fair. So from there, what we've got, guys, is we're heading heavily up into this area now, this range of this here, to be honest. From there, we have another range on a higher, if you were class at a higher time frame, we could be heading up into this orange thing today. So again, the range on that pullback would be that there. Pull this out. Again, that's a supply area. On the top will be supply. On the bottom is demand. So we'll just hold that out there. It seems as if we may be on that trend reversal. It's just all about catching the trend, following the trend, and being able to hit these order blocks as they come in. So that's a 1 to 2.77 at the moment. Again, mark out the liquidity area. Let's get the liquidity. So as you can see, as we are moving up, okay, we'll have a break of structure here. Break of structure, liquidity is holding. We're coming back down, we're anticipating the move into the order block to come back up to take liquidity. There's a strong possibility, as long as trend continues, and I'll say that again, as long as trend continues to what it's got to do, then there's a great possibility that these do come back to mitigate from the order block area. So again, I'm just going to pause the video and see where we are in the next few minutes. In fact, we've just pushed out of here, so now this has become a break of structure also. We'll still hold this structure at the moment in case this is just a pullback. We may need a few more candles going up before we would anticipate this as an order block. Again, because we want to do the swing point. So I'm going to pause the video for now. We'll be back in a second. This is just spiked out with that. Again, with that in mind, there's a new, excuse me, a new candle forming. So this has just been a spike out. It has taken liquidity. We could, in fairness, take it to there. Anticipate that. because it was only one candle when it's come back down. That's now a 1 to 3.27. We'll hold that structure. We'll have that as our liquidity area. We'll pause the video. We'll be back shortly. Hi guys. So once again, we have certainly broke the structure. Okay, we definitely broke structure. Let's get rid of that. So now this is all about this here. About this here. Liquidity is now residing on the top end. That's liquidity. Okay. Got a high. Low. Again, we only have a risk of 1% on these, first of all. So we've got a 1 to 1.95. Let's see if we get in on this trade. Again, liquidity is on the higher side. There we are. It's a 1 to 2, to be fair. A 1 to 2 trade. Everything's holding structure. For me, this is nice to see because we are in a continuation trend on the way up. This holds stronger for us because every time there's a pullback from a new high, there's every chance that the order block can be met within this. So again, you could use this order block here, to be fair. However, I'm going to use the lower side one, okay? And again, the order block, just to be visual, that I'm looking at the moment is that sort of area. Again, this is very tight. How I've got this order block, it's more or less bang on the money, to be fair, with regards to the drawdown area. So we'll see, we'll get an entry on this, but we're certainly on a bias. We are certainly heading up into the high areas of these supply areas. Okay. Okay, so from there we'll pause the video and we'll be back in a moment. We are heading more or less towards the half-time point where I'm going to get myself a cup of tea. So I'm just going to pause the video. We'll be back in a second. Hi guys, so now as you can see, we've hit our entry more or less to the wick, and we're just waiting for, basically it's a 4-pip push to a 2-pip stop loss. So it's like a 1 to 2. We'll see if we'll get that push. We have ended this trade at the moment. We'll see how it goes, and we'll be back in a very short while, hopefully. Right, guys, so as we are sort of in the continuation of trend, we're in sort of maybe 1% profit at the moment. If we drill into this, we can see imbalance areas that need to mitigate from the top side. There's one there. And that's around about it from the top side, in fairness. So it's a little bit worrying on that front. We'll just go into here. Imbalance. So that needs to be mitigated at some stage. So again, this here at the moment, this big grey block, this is all sort of imbalance. Or was it? Let's just take a look. No, it was a range. It was a range I was working in. Sorry. I do apologize. Let's take a look. So as it stands where price is, we are at around about 0.73 and 0.1 is around about there. But again, we're looking for the 1 to 2, to be honest. We're looking for the 1 to 2. So if we just scroll out a bit. We'll hold on to this price. We're nearly at the halfway point. Get the fire wand. 10 back down. We'll hold on. We'll see if it's going to hold the structure to give us where we want. But again, we ideally want to see this bit taken out, because then it might push and break to the top side. To be fair, we're heading back down to the entry point. We'll be back in a second. I'm going to make myself a half-time cup of tea. Oh, I didn't even get to make a cup of tea, guys. I was watching this. We've hit a -1. Again, I'm not worrying too much, because going on a week-to-week basis, I know we're doing okay. We're just gonna close this down. Take a look at the short. We're now looking at this area here. Get rid of that. Pull that out. And then I'm just going to set up my Magic Keys trade on my live account. That's here. Nice. So that's 1%. 1% gone. I've got on my live account as well, because I'm trading live on my Forex funds. Albeit on my Forex funds, I'm not doing the 1% on what I'm doing on here. I'm doing those on a 0.3 because it is a lower funded account. If we just get rid of that, just to get rid of the noise. The order block I'm looking at the moment is obviously of that. Okay. Get this to come back in. Order block. And that's it. We just continue to follow the trend. If we get a break of structure, which is what we've had here, we just need to be visually aware of what's going on. Again, I'm not perfect, but this strategy does work. We just give ourselves 2 hours a day. 2 hours a day is all we need. And that's all we do. We just move with structure, move with the price, and then we just respect where the price is going to. Excuse me. A bit of a bad chest this morning. Again, just move this up. 1 to 3, 5. Just move that on my live account. We'll pause the video because I'm just going to go and make myself that half-time cup of tea, as I always do, and we'll be back in a moment to see if this has started giving us up here. Right, so we're back again, guys. Half-time cup of tea. Oh, excuse me. Oh, my little chubby biggie. Right, so as we can see, fire wand, break structure again. Let's just move with the trend. You just keep moving and moving and moving. Break structure. Bring this down. Bring this up. bring this down. So now we've got a 1 to 7.3, not a massive move to be fair, but again, we go with structure all the time. All the time, we just move with structure and we will eventually catch. We will eventually catch the run of play. Again, order block, bring it down. That's our order block there. And so far this morning, we've got a -1 again. Not too concerned with that because what we are looking at on the bigger side of things is, again, what we'll do is we'll get this set up. So far, we've had a -1%. And we'll total these up against this in a bit. Okay, so we've had a -1 so far. Overall, we've still got 41.85. Wouldn't be 42, be 41.85. But we'll take these totals off at the end or add them if we get any winners. Okay, so just going to minimize that, maximize that. Again, we just follow the price. So 1 to 2.77, which is going to help us. We don't move the order block. Remember, the order block stays as it is. Price is pushed down. So we are simply just protecting the order block on the higher side. I'm just looking at my live trade at the moment. Got that there. I'm just waiting for the pullback. Find this a little bit harder, because I'm interacting with two screens. I've got my laptop to my left, I've got the Mac on the right, which is where I'm doing these, and I'm trying to take my trades at the same time as showing you guys what I'm looking at structure-wise. Again, what we do at the end of the session, we always look back on structure, see where price has been, where it's went to, and how it's reacted, and then we'll do a conclusion report as well at the end of the session. And all being well, we'll either be on break even or we may even hit a little bit of profit. So I'm going to pause the video and we'll be back in a second. Hi guys, so I just thought I'd give you a catch about what's happening. We had a nice big impulse move down. We can, again, it's all about being visual. Like I say, I'm not rushing. Yes, we've had one loss so far this morning. But again, I'm not too worried about that overall. We've got a 40-odd% gain. This is all about me producing the content, first and foremost, to get you guys to do the same, to set your areas that's going into your state of play. So we've had the break structure here. We identified that this morning. Okay, and as we identified that, I was possibly expecting this to head into this area still. However, we had a bit of a trend reversal because we had a break of structure from this point, and then we had a bit of a sort of grab on the higher side, if you want to call it that. We had a grab up onto this higher side and almost a grab up into this pullback area here. Okay, so if we can minimize that, because that will be the pullback. Okay, because as we come down, these are the pullbacks. We come down, this would be the pullback. So did we get the grab into that? Not quite. It was heading towards that supply area. It's mitigated this to its fullest. Okay, this range here to its fullest. So what we could do is certainly get rid of that. So at the moment, again, as a pullback, we come down, there's a pullback there. We've got a range here. There's a range there. You know, so we've come out, we've mitigated straight into that. So that's of no relevance anymore. And if you wanted to go even deeper, let's take a look. Again, I'll not over confuse it. I'll leave what I was going to say there. Again, what we've got there from that aspect is, if you look to the left of where this order block is, okay, you come up, you've got a pullback. So the higher high, the higher low. Swing point, swing point. Let's just, again, let's just make that one white. And you can see, okay, the pullback that's come up, it's mitigated to its fullest. It did the halfway point come up and then it pushed through. So it's mitigated right through that. And at the moment, we're sort of consolidating, if that makes sense. It's a bit of a consolidated area at this time. Around about 20 minutes, consolidated for 20 minutes, which isn't too much of a concern. We just hope that the swing point's going to hold and we're not going to break out of this area as such. It looks like it's going to be fair. I would like to see the area to come back into the order block to touch, to then come down to mitigate out of that, giving us a nice 2.77. Again, if this was to break out of this section, we would simply start moving our order block and entries, looking at these sort of areas here. Okay, just to give you a little bit more of an insight. That would then start to become an order block, but only until, okay, only until or only if this gets grabbed. So that at the moment, is a liquidity area, okay? That's a liquidity area at the moment. I'm just going to get rid of that order block so it stops any confusion. And that's where I'm at the moment with this, guys. Now, I'm hoping you're understanding what we're looking at with regards to these things when I mentioned structure points. And you're also having your goalpost set and writing your structure points out, your higher highs, your high lows, your lower highs, because they do help you become more visually aware of where your price action currently resides, whether you're currently in a continuation of a downtrend or whether you're moving up in an uptrend. Again, what we are waiting for here is possibly a breakout here, but we still anticipate the structure to hold, this order block to be mitigated, and then a drive down. If we get that, just to give you an update, that will be a 2.77 gain, but we wait for this structure to either hold or break. We'll be back in a moment. Hi guys, excuse me. So it's been very, very slow on here. We've got a -1 so far today. We're heading towards the end of the session. We've more or less had an entry on this. However, it's coming towards the end of the session, I should say. So today it looks as if we might actually be on a -1 for today. On my live account, I'm going to let this stay and run, if I'm honest with you. But for my documentation purposes, obviously, I only ever run these for the 8:30 to the 10:30 point. So at the moment, our current time is 25 past. We'll give it a few minutes to see if it actually enters, and then we'll get back to you and we'll have an end of session conclusion. Okay, guys. So at the moment, as it stands, we haven't quite hit the entry. This is going to be a 1 to 2.61. We're waiting for the pullback to come down. I'm going to leave it on my live account either way, but for display purposes and documentation, I only ever run this from 8:30 till 10:30 on what we're doing here. Okay, so we'll be back very shortly. Hi guys, so we're coming to the end of the session. I'm going to call it there. We've got a -1, and then we'll have a look on this chart at the moment. So yes, at the moment, I'm just going to move a couple of things off my desk here. So we've got the -1. Again, not too worried about that. minus 1%. Tip down to 41 overall. And then we'll take that into there. Tomorrow is going to be the 19th, and that's me session done for today, guys. Again, let's go back on what we are looking at in fairness, just to give you an end of session conclusion. There we have. Okay, so again, we started the day off identifying structure. Okay, and I do this all the time, and I'll see this every single day. We do this before entering the sessions. Okay, the path is the higher time frame structure point. Okay, we've got the supply demand area on the bottom. We're heading back down into this demand area. So at the moment, between the goalposts, you've got a crossbar and the goal line. We are heading back down. I am anticipating now, okay, price to come further down and deeper into this. We might start to get some lower prices to mitigate the full area of this demand area before we then see higher prices come and take this top end. But we'll see what happens tomorrow morning with regards to how prices reacted throughout this. Okay, so it just wasn't our day to day. We just dust ourselves off. We look back on what we were looking at before the session. So we had a channel coming down, a little bit of choppiness from out of the channel. Okay, so we had a reversal. We had the break of structure. We identified that, got to the low. So we break a structure. We got the higher high and then the higher low. From there, we got the break structure, and we tried to follow the trend, and we were using the order blocks on the way up. However, as the price was coming back in to mitigate these areas, these order blocks were not tested from when we had that initial sort of break of structure, which again doesn't always happen, but that's the preference and the technique that we are using. Again, we don't overtrade. We have our goalposts at half 8, half 10. We anticipate between that time frame you are only going to get 1, 2, maybe 3 trades, and you'll only ever need to risk at least 1%. Okay, so as you can see from here, break of structure, break of structure, break of structure, break of structure. Liquidity still resides on this top end here. There's a little bit of imbalance here. So in the future, certainly in the near future, you're going to see this get mitigated and more so possibly the higher end taken out. But as we got to the high point, we come down, we didn't break the structure on the pullback. Okay, so we got a lower high. We then broke structures on the steps coming upwards. So we created lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. Again, just to be visual, because I like to keep tabs on my price action. Lower high will be there. And then the new lower low will be here. So at the moment, because we've had a break of structure here, we would technically, if we were still going, we would class that as the break of structure. Our order block would then come down to this area here. Okay, and I would just include that bit there to that high bit there. This in itself. Price all the way down to this bit here. And that's where I would have that entry, to be fair. I'm going to put this on my live account, but for display purposes, documentation, it's half 8 to half 10. We've had a -1. We are now currently at, let's have a look. We are now currently at for overall 41.85%. We go into tomorrow looking for them new trades. Okay, guys. So that's been me at the moment. If you just bear with me, we're going to have a conclusion in a moment. So just bear with me. Let's take a look. So I've just moved my live account, and that's where we are at the moment. That's what I would possibly be looking at. But again, this would not be a trade. This is just to anticipate and tell you where we've come as we've got that breaker structure. And that there would be obviously the new liquidity. So anyway, that would be a 1 to 3.56. Just going to stop the share. Just make me bigger. So that's the first session for this week over with, a minus 1%. We haven't broke the bank, to be fair. We do let the price sort of find its feet on the markets on a Monday. And we go into tomorrow's session, possibly finding better ground, better structure, to be honest. From there, it's all about identifying your areas, identifying your point of interest, and we just use the continuation of trend when it becomes into our favor to then structurally look for that order block entry, hold the structure of that swing point to touch and mitigate into that, to then go to, whether it's on the higher side, to go towards, back towards that liquidity that needs to be taken, or if it's on the downside, the liquidity down on the sell side area. So there's nothing really much else to say other than keep plugged in, keep practicing, keep going with your technique. And as you can see, I'm not overstressed with what's happened today. It's just been one of them days. It's a learning curve. We've looked back on the chart to see what's happened on today's session. And again, it's not as if we are all over the charts with setting alerts for different pairs, for different indices, for different whatever, to tell us to go have a look. We are concentrating on that one solitary pair, one time frame with an order block method, and also within our structured approach of 2 hours. For me personally, and again, I document this, I've been doing this for now, this is going into the 5th week, we are still at over 40% growth. Okay, the first 4 weeks, we were just doing a simple compounding effect. We're going to be using a different effect going into the next few weeks up till Christmas to see how it performs. Again, that is the asymmetrical compounding, where we win 2 trades. On the 3rd one, we get to turn that dial. We basically, on the risk to reward on the final trade, we sort of take the 1 plus whatever the current reward's going to be, plus that, and then that's going to be our percentage risk. And going on the previous 2 trades at 1, that there is protected by a safety net of what's been won on the 2 previous trades. It just means when we get to turn that dial and turn up the heat, we can sort of go into profits of 2 or 3 times the amount of what we would normally get back. So I hope you've enjoyed this session today. Not really much on there other than being able to look at the structure points and help you identify the structure points. I hope you're taking a little bit out of today. Again, there was nothing special on there other than just another day at the office, guys, and I hope you continue to keep applying what I'm showing you and keep looking at these charts. Please take notes, as I always say. If anything resonates with you, pause the video, take notes on what that section or what that subject has been that resonated with you, highlight it, timestamp it, and then you've got something to look back onto. Okay, drop your comments below, let me know how you're getting on, let me know where you're from. Are you enjoying these things? Again, if you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell. You'll get notified whenever I go live on anything. And from there, guys, again, if you've seen value in what I do, there'll be a little join button underneath the video here. Just hit that. For the price of a cup of coffee, you'll get access to all this area here. Okay, see you later.